turned into a system where they're using their positions for their own personal gain. That kind of behavior is entrenched in the city. It's not just one person. It's not one particular group. It's not one particular political party. It's something that has been going on for generations. So today we want to take a stand, and we have started working with a national organization called Represent Us to put together a resolution to present to our city council. So we're here today to ask our city council to pass an anti-corruption resolution. It's just a first step in the work that we want to continue doing. It's a long haul. It's a heavy lift to kind of change systems here in the city, or really in any municipality. But we're here to do it. So we got our city council member, Steve Spain, who's going to introduce this resolution to the full city council. We're working very hard to build the coalition. We're asking for ordinary citizens, business owners, public officials to stand with us and say no to corruption, but not just no to corruption, but yes to transparency, yes to equity, and yes to fair and free elections. So,
woo! Yeah!
That said, I'm going to read a little bit of our resolution, and maybe we can have other members read part of the resolution while we wait to go in and present. So, it's cold in my fingers. All right.
You want to pass it around?
Yeah,
if we could go in like a circle.
We'll pass it around. I'll read the first whereas, and then we'll pass it around. So, whereas corruption is defined as the abuse of public office for personal gain, and
whereas the city of Bridgeport has a well-documented history of corruption, which has led to mistrust among and between citizens, residents, civic and community leaders, and elected and appointed officials, and
whereas we are deeply committed to upholding our Stay Clean Elections program and our local ethics ordinance, and
whereas we know that within the public lies the true power and future of our city, and therefore, whatever trust the public places in its officials must be respected, and
whereas we are ready to chart a new course for our city, grounded in a vision to reestablish trust and mutual respect with the people of Bridgeport to foster healthy community and diverse civic engagement, and
whereas we define good governance as the process for making and implementing decisions on behalf of the public trust that is accountable, transparent, follows the rule of law, is responsive, equitable, and inclusive, efficient and effective, and participatory, that restores and builds trust, honesty, and a collective vision for a people united by a common and statute law, and
whereas the operation of good governance requires the public officials and employees to be independent, impartial, and accountable to the people, that the city of Bridgeport conducts open, fair elections, free of partisan influence, that government decisions and policies be made in their best interests of the community and the government, that public office not be used for personal gain, that officials and employees not be unduly or inappropriately influenced by those they regulate or by those who seek special benefits from the city of Bridgeport, and that the public have confidence in the integrity and transparency of the government, and hello friends.
this one?
Right here.
Whereas we desire to establish as a position of the city of Bridgeport that stringent new electoral reforms and anti-corruption laws for politicians, lobbyists, and outside groups such as super PACs are necessary in order to protect and promote the First Amendment free speech rights of all citizens, regardless of political party, wealth, business, or labor affiliations, and to foster ordinary, legal, permanent residents as the most important stakeholders in government instead of major donors or organizations, and
woo! All right!
Whereas limits on contributions to political candidates at the federal level are justified by the need to reduce the potential for undue influence and the appearance of impropriety, and
whereas contributions to candidates and political spending on their behalf from lobbyists, PACs, organizations, businesses, etc. present a potential risk of the appearance of impropriety, and all right, we're at this one.
Whereas precedent suggests that restrictions on official actions taken by legislators in situations in which there may be conflicts of interest do not constitute restrictions on the First Amendment free speech rights for legislators, and
whereas closing the revolving door where elected representatives and administrative staff accept jobs that give the appearance of impropriety, whether through a political party or through a lobbying firm, which further deteriorates the public's trust. And
I think this one? Which one, Marie? Yep. Okay.
whereas substantial sums of money are spent in elections, yet there is no public disclosure of private interests, including campaign donations received, and
whereas the city of Bridgeport joins with other communities in the United States in seeking limits on full transparency of political money and influence as necessary for the growth of an educated, engaged, and informed electorate.
Woo! Where are we?
we're on now.
Now. All right. Who wants to? Jameen, take us home.
All right. Now, therefore, be it resolved that it is the position of the city of Bridgeport that we denounce corruption in all its forms, in all levels of government, commit to the values of good governance, and to uphold clean elections and our ethics ordinance, and that stringent new electoral reforms and anti-corruption laws be passed by the state of Connecticut and U.S. Congress, including to the extent permitted by law to enact legislation that allows municipalities to hold nonpartisan open primaries, prohibits candidates from taking campaign money from interests they regulate and from lobbyists, put limits on PACs and other groups, increase transparency for campaign funding, stop elected representatives and senior staff from negotiating jobs while in office, and bar them from lobbying activity for 5 years once they leave office, and strengthen federal agencies to enforce the rules against candidates and identified groups defined in such legislation from violating and proposed laws. Be it further resolved that the city of Bridgeport respectfully urges the state and congressional delegation to support and introduce anti-corruption legislation to the state and federal House and Senate addressing these issues herein described. Woo woo!
Woo! All right.
So, we're gonna go in at 6:30. That's when we have our public speaking. So everyone, when we go in, when I do make the statement, I would appreciate if you can all stand. I guess I'll put up. I'll give the signal. I'll give the bat signal for everyone to stand, and I'll read my statement on our behalf. I want to thank especially Senator Moore for coming and braving the cold out here. She's working really hard, and I do believe she has introduced some anti-corruption legislation on a state level. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
I am correct. And Callie, bring us home.
Oh, well, let's hear from Senator Moore.
Let me hear.
We originally introduced, in my first year, I introduced a bill, conflict of interest bill, that Jack Hennessy couldn't get out of the House because Chris Rosario blocked it in the second term. But in the first term, Anthony Musto, who was in the Senate, wouldn't call the bill. So when I went up in my second year, I called the bill, got it passed unanimously out of the Senate. When it got to the House, Chris Rosario blocked it. Representative... the bill again this year. So the bill is not any place in the Senate or in the House to come out this year.
Wow. And what was the bill? What was the conflict of interest bill?
It was saying that you couldn't work for the city and be elected to municipal office at the same time.
Yeah.
You couldn't sit on city council or you couldn't sit on a commission if you worked for the city of Bridgeport.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what we need.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth. That's the truth. Does anybody else have anything you want to say? I know it's cold, so thanks everybody for coming out.
Yeah, anyone want to
speak?
Speak on behalf of the people of Bridgeport? Share your experience? No.
Josh?
I want to say something. So
Yeah.
I listened to what you said about not taking money from lobbyists and business groups. But you know what that means? That means that people who live in the city have to step up. It's really hard for me to raise $15,000 out of Trumbull, Bridgeport, Monroe, when you say that I wanted to stay at a max of $100, but that's not going to happen. And the minimum is $5, and I have to get 300. Do you know how hard it is for me to get 300 people to give me just $5, let alone 15,000? So if the community doesn't step up to help people raise that money, they have no other recourse but to go to lobbyists who will give them the max. I've agreed not to take any money from the casinos or any lobbyists that work for the casinos. That's as far as I'm going, but I will say it's hard. It's very, very hard, and it's the difference of you raising your money looking strong or not being able to raise your money looking weak, and that's when people come after you, when you look like you're weak and you don't have support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, looks like we have some more.
Councilman Spain, would you like to say anything?
Sure.
Few words.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm grateful to all of you for being here. When I moved to Bridgeport about 6 years ago, didn't imagine I'd be called Councilman Spain anytime in the future. Kind of more interested working with my wife in the backyard, weeding out our yard. And now I realize I'm kind of weeding out Bridgeport.
Yeah.
I'm trying, but it's because of all of you that I can even try to do this. Because this is harder than you'd think. You'd think, well, geez, this sounds good. Bridgeport's known for corruption, so wouldn't the people who live there now want to be known for changing that, right?
Right.
That would be easy, you'd think. That'd be great. So we have a great resolution. I went through it many times before the final iteration, and I thought it was good every time you sent it to me, and it just got better and better and better. So I feel like, it's the old saying, if you're going to forget history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I feel like we don't want to do that. We're all aware of the history, and there's some really great history here in Bridgeport about corruption and the costs of corruption. And it all starts with us, because that then can project onto the state level, and thank God for State Senator Moore for the example she sets, and it can set on the federal level too. But I just want you to say, remember, there was a really important judge in our Bridgeport history we can learn from, Judge Arterton. And I want you to know that she said that regarding Mayor Ganem's first administration, that there was extraordinary harm done to the political system of our city. And it went beyond the beyond. Quote, government corruption breeds cynicism and mistrust of elected officials. It causes the public to disengage from the democratic process because the public begins to think of politics as only for the insiders. I don't see any insiders here.
That's right.
Which is really nice, which is really, really good. And I'm not going to become an insider. And I know that because my wife would divorce me. And then after she divorced me, all my friends would leave me. Okay? So, thus, corruption has the potential to shred the delicate fabric of democracy by making the average citizen lose respect and trust in elected officials and give up any hope of participating in government through legitimate channels.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge Arterton. So, the lessons of our past are not lost on us. We're trying to go forward in a humble, collective way to make change here in Bridgeport, from the grassroots up to the state and across our great country. Yes. So thank you for all being here, and let's get this resolution on its way to the Miscellaneous Matters Committee, okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Pete. All right.
re-election happens.
Roz, what you got there? All right. Let's pass them out.
Like they exploded from their homes.
Woo! Look at all those signs.
What time is that? I really like those signs. I like the blue one. Like the black.
I couldn't even find my sign. It was so hard.
All right, we're gonna do a couple of chants just to get our blood warmed up. So the first one we're gonna do is what?
Who city?
Our city.
Okay, we're gonna do who city, our city. Okay. So Jamim and I are gonna say who city, and you all say our city. Ready? Who city?
Our city.
Who city?
Our city.
Who city?
Our city.
Who city?
Our city.
All right. The next one we're gonna do is we're gonna say, show us what democracy looks like, and you will say, this is what democracy looks like. You ready?
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Go.
Show us what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show us what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show us what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Y'all can dance.
All right. What do we want?
Good governance.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Good governance.
When do we want it?
Now.
Excuse me. What do we want?
Good governance.
When do we want it?
Now.
All right, we're going to do another one. What do we want?
Fair elections.
When do we want them?
Now.
Last month. November 10th. Do over.
What do we want?
Fair elections.
When do we want them?
Now.
What do we want?
Fair elections.
When do we want them?
Now.
All right. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Woo! Let me just say one thing. There's somebody else who is greatly affected by our unfair elections who's not standing here at this moment, but he is a part of the coalition. And I think it would be appropriate for me to give you all his slogan, which is stop corruption cold.
All right, we can say that.
Shout out to the 133rd.
Ready?
Stop corruption cold.
All right. All right, does anyone else have, anyone want to speak? Anyone want to share testimony, story, comments? All right.
Well, my name's Johnny Ray Moore, and I had a situation with the Bridgeport WPCA where they had commenced a foreclosure action to foreclose on one of my properties here in Bridgeport. And their complaint that they filed in the Bridgeport Superior Court listed that I owed like $1,200. Due to a federal issue, they should not had commenced the action against me, and nevertheless they did, and the $1,200 grew to about $11,000.
Wow.
And because I refused to pay that, I had filed several motions and state court and federal court. And basically, the end result, they withdrew the action, and I didn't have to pay the $11,000. And I said to myself, how many other people that probably did not have the wherewithal to fight have lost their homes or basically had to pay enormous sums of money above and beyond the debt that was owed to the Bridgeport WPCA in order to save their homes. As a result of my experience, I had reached out to Channel 12 News. They aired a series, well, not so much a series, but they talked about it on Channel 12, and came to find out that one particular law firm here in the city of Bridgeport had commenced approximately 1,500 foreclosure actions against the residents or property owners here in the city of Bridgeport for what really amounts to be a small claims. And, you know, my position is people shouldn't have to lose their homes.
Right.
There are other avenues to try to resolve a small claims debt than filing actions in Bridgeport Superior Court and taking people's homes. So I'm grateful to State Senator Marilyn Moore and Mr. Pete Spain. She's introduced the bill in in Hartford, tried to get more uniformity among the Bridgeport WPCA or water pollution control authorities throughout the state of Connecticut. We see a concentration of these foreclosure actions happening in Bridgeport, New Haven, and Stamford. So perhaps Stop the Corruption can help expose this what I call egregious, unconscionable act of just stripping people of their homes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo! Thank you. And Ashley, who's a Gen Now member who's away at college, she's telling me that she wants us to say, in honor of you, when I say people, you say power. Ready? All right. When I say people,
Power!
ready? I'll say when I say people, and then we say power. Let's say we say power. Okay, ready? Okay. All right. We're new to this. Right. Okay. When I say people,
We say power!
When I say people,
We say power!
People,
Power!
People,
Power!
People,
Power!
All right, Councilman Langen is here.
Hello.
A co-sponsor of our resolution. Thank
Hello,
you.
everyone.
Hey,
Thank you for standing out in the cold and being supportive of this measure. Don't have anything prepared to say, but thinking about this, I think about trust. And trust is an important thing. It's a fragile thing. And I know the mechanism of which I am now a part has done many things throughout the years to erode that trust, as evidenced by going around while I was campaigning and talking to neighbors who said, oh yeah, you're by every 2 years, same story every time, different person, same story, nothing's going to change. So when I was asked to co-sponsor this, I jumped at this as the smallest opportunity and gesture I could make to my neighbors in good faith, that I'm all for doing things differently. That it doesn't have to be the same old story. It can be a different story. It can be an open and honest story where we're communicating with each other and not being afraid of what that brings, of talking about things in the open and not being afraid of what that brings. Because I will make mistakes, and that's okay. But we all are, and so we need to stand together, and I'm really happy to be supportive of this bill. Again, thank you all so much for being here. It means a lot.
Thank
you.
People.
Power.
People.
Power. All
Yes.
right.
Yes. I do. I'm going to excuse myself inside to get myself prepped and ready.
Yes. Yeah.
Since you don't have a co-host.
Yeah. Oh, and oh. Hi, Christina. Nice to see you. All right. Unless there's anyone else who wants to speak, I think we can close out. Just so you all know how this works. So we're going to go inside, and our resolution is on the agenda this evening. What that means is that it'll get referred to committee, and it's being referred to the Miscellaneous Matters Committee. So what then, Civics 101, what is our next step in this process? What do we got to do? What, say it louder, Martin.
Go to the committee hearing and...
Yeah, we got to go to the committee hearing. That's right. So just be on the lookout for the Facebook event or the email. Everyone should be on the mailing list, but if you're not, when we go inside, we can circulate a sign-in sheet if you haven't signed up for Generation Now emails. And we'll go to that committee hearing, that committee meeting.
Should be on April 23rd. Should be on Monday, April 23rd at 6 in this building. Should be.
Monday, April 23rd. Got it. 6 o'clock, this building. And yeah, that's where the debate and discussion over this resolution will take place. The public generally is not allowed to speak, so we will rely on the co-sponsors of the bill to help communicate the message and the purpose on our behalf. But it is important that we all go because your presence is powerful, right?
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, and they, these things, they may table it. And what does it mean if they table it? We gotta come back. That means we'll just go to the next one. Yes. So yes, this is what democracy looks like. This is what active civic engagement looks like. Super happy, super proud.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe we should close out with one more kind of chant. Which one was our favorite?
People power.
You like the people? The people power? All right. You want me to do it again?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. When I say people,
we say power.
When I say people,
we say power.
People.
Power.
People.
Power.
People.
Power.
All right. Let's go in. Everyone go inside, get warm. And thank you all. Woo! Woo!
Thank you.
I see that.